Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Here we are, scrappers. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. Hope you're doing awesome. It's a beautiful day here in New Jersey. Weather's really nice out, and the prices are staying pretty strong. I mean, we've seen some pretty great markets over the last few weeks. We've seen a lot of people posting prices, which is an awesome thing to do. So we tell people post those prices. This way you can share with other people, reference your own prices, and go from there. But before I jump into some of the news, I saw a couple of things that people were talking about online, and I just wanted to talk about it this way I can kind of integrate it with some of the things I'm going to talk about today. So one of the main talking points this week was the lowering of prices, and people pointed to the U.S. government releasing another 1 million barrels of oil potentially before the 4th of July from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, otherwise known as the SPR, and people are nervous that this could affect prices. So it's really interesting because those oil prices, I mean, I filled my pickup truck this morning, and the prices are certainly higher than they were 4 or 5 years ago, but they aren't like they were in that crazy period of June 2022. That's what always sticks out in my mind, $5 or $6 a gallon. But those gas prices are predicted to go up this summer 7 to 15% based on just summer vacations, higher industry demand, and that's both domestically and internationally. And that's important because those higher fuel prices, they do affect the transport prices. But what's interesting for me is kind of lead that fuel into a scrap conversation. Steel prices are down. Right? We're down like 3 months, 4 months in a row on steel prices, and we went down again. And I would have thought that some of these, these prices that have gone down on diesel and gasoline would have helped the steel markets, and we haven't seen that. The crazy run up that we saw in prices in May and early June on the copper side of things had no impact on the ferrous markets. And as you can see here, you can see our kind of bellwether, our shred 155 down 13% over the last 45 days. That just shows you we are having a market that's slowly decreasing. And I don't think that this summer is going to show any signs of growth when it comes to steel prices. If we continue to have higher fuel costs, which gas and diesel are going to go up this summer, you're going to not have that huge demand on the steel side of things, because I keep saying the same thing over and over again. We're seeing residential buildings going up. We're not seeing huge commercial buildings going up. That's important because it's using wood versus metal, and that's a heavy demand. On top of that, what's going on with the automobile sector? Last month, we saw the new car sales go down again. Why? Average new cars are over $47,000.
Used just went up.
And the used car market is going up more. And I read another article that showed that people are keeping their cars on average to 13 and a half years old. And that trend used to be 12 years old. Well, why is that important? People aren't buying new cars. So if they're not buying new cars, that recycled material, that aluminum, that copper, that steel is not going into a very heavy usage, heavy, weight capital industry of autos. It's not going there, and they're going to start to have a little bit of a slowdown. That's going to affect the market, and now we're seeing more steel going down in price. Demand is going down. Of course, interest rates are high, so to borrow money to go and buy a new car costs more than it did before. And these are some of the factors that are contributing to the steel markets. And generally, I've seen prices over the summer dropping for steel, so I'm not like super shocked right now. But just to go to one of the things, I also read an article about that Strategic Reserve. They're trying to refill it because they drained it so much in 2022 to keep the prices artificially lower as things kind of raged starting in Ukraine and things like that. But we're at the lowest level since 1983 for the fuel reserves in this country. So you can't just keep putting a million barrels to artificially keep the prices low. You need more production, and that will lead to metal prices eventually going up if we start to see more investment in industry, in manufacturing, in commercial buildings being built. So that's where we're looking for things. So when I hear about chip factories being built for smart chips, NVIDIA powered chips, all these type of things, you want to see factories that will need a large amount of material. And that's when we're going to start to see a lot of these prices really increasing. But I don't see that happening this summer. Now, another thing, I'll start to talk about some of the, it's hot, right? We're getting into the hot season, air conditioning, scrapping things. And we recently made a video talking about how to avoid mistakes while scrapping air conditioners. So if you check out our YouTube channel, we have plenty of videos that talk about scrapping air conditioners, how to make more money. We show you things that other scrap yards wouldn't show you normally, how to sort and separate. But when it comes to air conditioners, there's a lot of really great tricks that we've learned from working at the scrap yard and dealing with customers for years that we want to be able to show you. So check those things out, because these are videos that we've made based off of our experiences. And when I watch a lot of YouTubers that are scrapping, it's great because I get to see how they're doing things and learn here and there, see what I think's worth it, see what I don't think is worth it. But you'll be able to check out some of these videos. And this is just a great one because it's longer than a lot of other things that we do, and it gives you a further insight. So you can see it up on the screen here, just an example of one of the videos that we have. You'll be able to see, taking air conditioners apart.
Another good
we're just going to be able to show you a lot of secrets,
elevated this
things
way,
to
you're
look
not
for,
squatting
things
down,
to avoid,
but
things that you may not encounter. This air conditioner is
dirty.
all aluminum.
Now, by going around the air conditioner, a lot of these pieces are just hooked together,
knowing
and
what the
it's
sheet
easy to be able to take all four of them, two of them, or one of them off just by taking screws on
we share
one
lots
side.
of stuff like this.
Now,
so
by having
just
a
let us know if
with
you
a
like
sharp
that video,
blade,
or
we're going to
others
start to
will
get to
continue
work
to just
opening this air conditioner
to be able to show you how
Now,
to
we
make
can look at this
money.
air conditioner and look at
Breathe, right? Sometimes I tell people all the time when I go into meetings or anything, I talk a lot, and I'm sorry that I talk a lot. Sometimes when I'm in a meeting, I can pause because other people are talking. But when I talk to the camera, it's just, one-on-one. I could talk to Virginia, but that's not a good conversation behind camera and off. So what else is going on in the markets? So copper prices were a really crazy thing over the last month. We talked about this. In May, we saw prices go from 450 trading up to 520, and now we're right back to 450, all in a 4 or 5 week period. So you can see some of the markets here are national 45-day averages. Some of them are up slightly, some of them are down, but they don't have the huge swings that we saw. If we could click on Bear Bright, actually, just to give kind of the bellwether, my yard is paying $3.90 today, but you can see some of these prices on the screen. Just a huge disparity in prices the last few days, from 258 on the screen all the way up to 405. That's a humongous range. And even if you throw out 405 and 258, you have a range from 345 up to $3.90. That's still a very big range. So the copper prices have leveled themselves out. And what is important is when I start to look at futures contracts, which is not something that you would ever look at, but let me just talk about it for a second. When you sell copper in large quantities, they're based on different contracts on different months. So it could be you're selling on a July number, an August number, etc. Normally, they're priced out 3 months in advance because that's how long deliveries and things like that will take. And what happened with those crazy price run-ups, the futures prices were really high. And then when the market started to drop down sharply, the future prices didn't change, and it was really causing a lot of tension and a lot of problems. And now it seems that the future prices have caught up with today's trading prices. So instead of being like this, we're more like this, which is really nice. And now we're seeing a little more stability. And a lot of people that I sell to and other scrapyards sell to didn't buy any material for a week or two. There was a Chinese holiday in there. There was Memorial Day in there. There was uncertainty why the market ran up so fast in there. And that's a lot of things that were coming at us nonstop. Imagine you're scrapping, right? And you're sitting there and you get 3 phone calls, and then you get 4 phone calls, and then no phone calls, right? That'd be weird, right? If you're used to getting those phone calls every day for pickups, or you went from 0 to 4 to 10 to 20 back down to 0, you'd be confused. And that's really what's happened on the scrap yard side of things. We were all confused. You were enjoying the hell out of those prices going up, and we were too, but we were also concerned because our risk, our exposures went up. But now that things are seeming to steady themselves, we're looking to have kind of a flat line moving forward with regular trading going into the summer. And hopefully we can just see this regular trading patterns kind of reemerge and go back into a normal cycle. Hey, it was fun, right? It was fun for a few days, few weeks there. Oh my God, copper's up 20, copper's up 10, copper's up 17. Wait a second, copper's down 23 cents? That doesn't make sense. And those are just some of the things that we've seen. So copper prices still super strong. And I talked about this in my report this week. And a lot of people always ask me, Tom, what are the prices going to do in the future, right? My crystal ball is cloudy. I still can't read it. But what I do see is copper is going to be the new oil from the 20th century. It's going to be the new 21st century oil. When oil and gasoline really were able to be refined and used and put into cars and used to create energy and electricity in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, it just created this huge boom in the economy, both domestic here in the US and then worldwide. And we saw that go from 1950 to 2000, where gas was the way to do it. Well, now we got solar panels. Now we're starting to see clean energy from wind turbines, hydroelectric, nuclear, right? So you're starting to see this transition away from fossil fuels, and copper is the new oil. Now, it might not go as fast as you want it to, because, transitions are just that, transitions, they take time. But in the next 5 to 7 years, the demand for copper, because of clean energy initiatives, solar panel initiatives, wind, right? Not to talk, we haven't even talked about those data centers again, right? Data centers, AI, power to power those data centers and that AI and those servers. Copper, 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 copper. And one thing that I looked about, because I saw a comment saying, are they going to use aluminum instead of copper? So I talked to a few people who both do server installations and then deinstallations. And they said that the people that are investing in these server farms, they don't want aluminum. They want a higher reliability, a higher transferability, and copper gives you that. So it looks like moving forward, maybe some of the feeds will be converted to aluminum, but the main feeds, the main bulk of the material that they're going to need is copper. And just a round of applause here. That's what we're looking for the future, to be able to power prices forward, which is just going to be really exciting to look out for. But we did get a question, or we saw something on Reddit this week that I want to talk about with copper. And there was a question that stuck out to us. Here it goes. For scrappers who find copper wire that ends up being stranded, like really thin strands, and it's too thin to be bare bright, but it's clean, what's your best bet for scrapping? Should you bring it as insulated, or should you take the jacket out and collect everything inside? And a perfect example of this would be an extension cord. An extension cord normally has 3 copper wires inside, and then those 3 copper wires that are each insulated have another layer of insulation around them, right? So you would have to strip 4 jackets to get all of that copper that's inside. That copper is super, super thin and goes as a number 1 tubing. Why? A lot of people will ask me this question, because I've been asked it hundreds. One of my most asked questions, both at the scrapyard and through iScrap, is why is that copper graded as a number 1 tubing? And the reason is, when it goes to the mill and it goes to the furnace, when it's that thin, Think about a piece of paper in fire. What happens to it? It quickly lights up, it floats up, and sometimes it disappears. It's not like one of those logs at the base of the fire that just powers the fire for 10, 20, 30 minutes. So copper wire, when it's really, really thin, sometimes it can burn up really quickly. And instead of dripping down, it can go up and you can lose part of that copper through the furnace process. Now, you may say, Tom, that doesn't sound right. That's not true. It's all getting melted. And I agree with you, but I also have to respect these different people that are running these furnaces because maybe they know something that we don't from actually using it. So my suggestion is never to strip extension cords or things that have really thin gauge wire. But if you do have a thicker piece, because sometimes you could find something like a battery connector would be a perfect example. That battery connector that goes from the battery to the car or maybe to a generator, that short wire, inside there's going to be not 8 or 10 large pieces of copper. There's going to be 100 pieces of stranded copper inside, and that would still go as a number one tubing and not a bare bright. So just little things to look for and learn and ask questions. And even if you don't agree with it, just know that I don't agree with it either. And I've been asking these questions for years, and I continue to get the same answer every single time. So it's just interesting to learn about this stuff. And I'm just happy that people are asking questions about it. Markets, cats. We've seen platinum prices and palladium prices going a little bit up, a little bit down, kind of following some of the gold and copper prices, but we're not seeing strong markets on catalytic converters. We're seeing steady markets on catalytic converters. And I mean, our cats knows steady as we go is a great thing because we're always buying over rrcats.com. So we're quoting people, free shipping labels. Many of you have heard my spiel before, if you will, but 10-day price lock guarantees. So, you might not want to see $100 cat where it used to be $300, but it's also nice knowing that you have companies that are always going to buy and provide you, free shipping and things like that. So check that out. Other markets, aluminum, week over week down 4%, but we're still seeing strong markets. Aluminum very much was holding par with some of the copper increases. So we saw some nice markets and some strong pricing, but we didn't see super strong, holds. We saw kind of a downside since those copper prices started to go down, but we're still seeing things like sheet aluminum over 50 cents a pound. That's a win. And we're seeing that aluminum is really pairing itself up nicely with copper. So, you're going to see strength in the aluminum and copper markets. So I continue to say those are items you should keep selling, but we have lots of videos on how to sort your aluminum, which you should check out just to learn a little more about what's going on the aluminum side of things. Other than that, stainless steel relatively steady in that 25 to 35 cent range for 304. Yellow brass is averaging between 210 and 240 per pound. Car batteries, car batteries are a pain in the butt. They're heavy and the prices aren't there. And we're seeing prices from 14 to 21 cents per pound for lead acid batteries. That doesn't look to be increasing, kind of flatlining itself there. But you can check out some of the average prices online. But scrappers, that's kind of what I see going on. We saw a consumer price index number this morning showing that inflation is still there, which means that we may be a little closer to some interest rate cuts, which could affect some of the scrap prices. But there's too many months in between now and September, month to month, especially over the summer. If we see fuel prices increasing, you're going to see other prices following suit, and who knows anymore where metals are going to go. That's why we report every week. And the 4th of July week, what we're going to do is just going to give you a recap on the first half of the year on what happened on the first and the second quarter, see that the crazy ups and downs, and then we'll give you a bit of a preview going into the second half of the year. So stay tuned for that in about 3 weeks. But that's what's going on with the market, scrappers. Any questions, let us know. Check out our YouTube. Let us know questions, Reddit, anything, all of our channels. Check us out. Until next week, I'll scrap you later. Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside.
Thanks for watching our video. For $2.99 a month, by becoming a member, you can get access to early videos, member-only videos, merchandise discounts from our store, and priority comments that we answer before answering any other scrappers. Click the link below to learn more. Until next time, scrap you later.